welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell by the title, today we are going to be doing something a little different. It has been done before, so it's not my idea or anything, but I love the idea and I was like, I have to do that. So I'm going to be doing my makeup and telling you about unsolved crimes. So I do have a degree in criminal justice and psychology. I have kind of changed my mind about my career path, but it still really interests me. I've always been interested in like serial killers and mentally and criminally insane people. I just love the whole like psychological aspect of it. So when I saw this video idea, I actually got the idea from Beige. She's awesome. You should definitely go check her out. I will link her channel down below. Go subscribe. She does her videos every Monday. But when I saw the idea, I was like, wow, like I was wanting to kind of incorporate my degree into my channel. That way I didn't just forget about it. Even though I did kind of change my mind about the career field, I can still incorporate it in my life somehow. So I feel like this will be kind of a fun way to do it. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. So I do already have my brows on. I will link my products and everything that I use down below. That way I don't get sidetracked and start talking about products instead of the crime. So the crime I'm going to be talking about today is the Hinterkaifeck murders. I hope I am pronouncing that right. If I am not, please let me know down below. This did take place in Germany, so I am probably going to butcher the names and places. Again, let me know if I mispronounce anything. So Hinterkaifeck was a place in Germany. I guess Hinter stands for behind. So this was kind of on the outskirts of the town called Kaifeck. And this farm was the home of a family. It was a daughter. Her name was Victoria Gabriel, and her two children. She had 2-year-old Joseph and 7-year-old Cecilia. And then Victoria's parents, Andreas and Cecilia Gruber. So throughout the story I will refer to elder Cecilia and younger Cecilia. So, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, like I said, let me know. This farm was obviously kind of in the middle of nowhere, and it was said that the family kind of kept to themselves. Like they didn't really go out much, but there was kind of some concern when younger Cecilia did not attend school on April 1st of 1922. So this happened way back when. And the family did not show up to church, and Victoria, who was the daughter, she was in the choir, so it was kind of weird to everyone that they didn't show up to church. And then again on April 3rd, younger Cecilia still did not show up to school. And by this point their mail was piling up, and the neighbors they started growing more and more concerned. So on April 4th they decide to go investigate. then there was a neighbor who was a farmer, and his name was Lorenz. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, or his last name, because I know I'll butcher it. But anyways, he was a farmer that lived nearby, and he was the one to lead the investigation. When they arrived at the farm, this is where it gets kind of gruesome. When they arrived at the farm, inside the barn, they found 4 brutally battered bodies. And each of the bodies were covered in hay. Inside the house, there were 2 more bodies. One was 2-year-old Joseph, and the other was the new maid, Maria. Sadly, it was Maria's first day on the job. The previous maid quit because she had some suspicions about the house and she thought it was haunted. She would always hear noises and footsteps and just things, she thought things were off. The autopsies showed just that they were really brutally killed. The older Caecilia, she was strangled and also had 7 blows to her head, which cracked her skull. And the face of her husband, Andreas, was covered in blood, and his cheekbones were like protruding through his flesh. Victoria's skull was also smashed. She had 9 star-shaped wounds to her head. The right side of her face was hit with a blunt object. And the younger Caecilia, her lower jaw had been shattered. Her face and neck were covered in circular gaping wounds. I'm sorry, this is really gruesome, so if you don't like this, I'd click out now. And it was said that Victoria, elder Caecilia, and Andreas probably died instantly from their attacks, but younger Caecilia was said to have been alive for several hours after the murders, and she had ripped her own hair out in clumps. And mind you, she was only 7. This is terrible. Inside, Maria was killed with crosswise blows to her head in her chambers, and little Joseph was killed to a heavy blow to his head. He was in his little cot in Victoria's room, and he was only 2 years old, so this person is really terrible. And like I said before, the bodies in the barn were covered with hay, and inside, Maria was covered with one of her sheets, and Joseph was covered with one of his mother's dresses. So they tried to cover it up, but they didn't do a very good job. And even weirder, they had farm animals and a little Pomeranian dog, but none of the animals were touched, and they were even taken care of and fed and everything days after the murders took place. So, I mean, sometimes I like animals more than people, but not enough to kill them. The investigation has gone on for nearly 100 years and still hasn't been solved to this day. Police initially thought that maybe it was just someone traveling or like a robber or something, but that theory was thrown out after they realized that there were still large sums of money in the house, and nothing else was really disturbed other than the bodies and like the hay and sheets and whatnot used to cover them. It was clear that the killer remained in the house, feeding the animals, taking care of them, eating, just living his best life after killing this poor family in their own home. The police did question the former maid that quit, and they kind of wanted to know how she came to the conclusion that it was haunted. And she was like, yo, there were always sounds in the attic and always felt like I was being watched, so I had to get out of there. If I was her, I would have done the same thing. And of course, Andreas, Victoria's dad, did not believe the former maid, even though he had confided in neighbors that there was some weird shit going on around him as well. One thing being a newspaper that he did not buy was found near the home. One key that was in a set of 2 that the family had gone missing, and there were also footsteps leading in the snow to the farm but not leaving. And the family had no idea whose footprints were in the snow, and obviously it seems like whoever the murderer is, he was definitely residing inside the home. A little weird. So now suspicion has kind of set in on a few men that were involved with the family. If you can hear the rain, I'm really sorry. I decided to interrupt during this chilling story. Victoria was a widow. Her husband had died in World War I, and it is unknown whose father sweet little Joseph is. And Victoria also had a little something going on with Lorenz, who was the guy that was the farmer nearby who led the search party. I don't know. And both Lorenz and Victoria called Joseph their child. I don't know. It's getting a little fishy. But Andreas, Victoria's father, eventually intervened and didn't really want them together, so their relationship ended, and Lorenz then married someone else. They had a baby together who unfortunately passed a few weeks later. So obviously police are going to zero in on Lorenz as a suspect, and pretty much they thought it was because he lost his baby, he was acting out of rage, he didn't want to play child support for Joseph, who it may or may not be his baby. They came to the farm and killed Victoria and her family. And also the people that were searching for them with him said he was acting kind of weird, like he was acting all nonchalant, he knew his way around the farm, which they found was odd. He viewed and like handled the bodies without any kind of repulsion, so they're like, you're a little suspicious, so I mean, maybe you did this because you know where you're going. You're not grossed out or like sad or anything by seeing these bodies. Lorenz? I don't know, but he's not like a suspect to me. Police questioned and questioned and questioned Lorenz, but they just weren't able to conclusively place him at the crime scene. They reasoned that his behavior could be explained by shock, and as stated before, he had a relationship with Victoria, so that could very well explain why he knew his way around the farm. With Mr. Lorenz eliminated, they then suspected Victoria's husband, Carl Gabriel, But I remember how I mentioned she was a widow, so he's dead. And he died almost a decade prior, so he's definitely not a suspect, and unless he's the one that was haunting and freaked out the prior maid. I don't know. The paranormal interests me just as much as true crime. And then another theory started going around town that Victoria and her dad Andreas are actually the parents together of baby Joseph. It's really weird and kind of gross, but it was said that either Victoria or Andreas killed the family and then killed themselves. And this theory came about because I guess Mr. Andreas had a tendency to be down with some incest regularly, and there was a rumor that he had other kids and he was abusive. Supposedly Andreas had other kids, and Victoria was the only one to survive his abusive hands. This theory was also thrown out because none of the injuries looked self-inflicted. It was not possible that this was a murder-suicide. So obviously the murders had to have been done by someone who did not live at the farm, at least not permanently. And the only thing that the police thought could be somewhat certain was that the killer was someone who obviously knew their way around a farm and how to, you know, upkeep it and everything. And then also the brutality of the murders showed that it was someone that probably had something against one or multiple of the family. Police were unable to come up with an answer, and they eventually closed the case, but it does not remain closed. The Hinterkaifeck case has been reopened several times over the past 95 years. And even clairvoyants have been brought in to try and solve it. The bodies were beheaded. Shortly after the original autopsies, the skulls were sent to Munich, where they were examined for metaphysical clues, but sadly nothing was found that way. In 1923, the farm was demolished. Shows how much respect they have there. Anyways, it was demolished, and the family and maid laid buried, still without their heads. And in World War II, the skulls were lost. Also, other initial evidence was lost, and also some of it was probably too ancient to even try to examine anymore. But in 2007, a police academy that I cannot pronounce, but I will put it on the screen, they took it on as a cold case because the initial investigation was very basic. There was missing evidence. Suspects have passed away. So they were obviously not able to conclusively identify the murderer, but they did come to a theory, unfortunately, to respect all families involved. The theory has remained a secret, and we'll probably never know who did this, what happened, why. Are you done? So I definitely think it sucks that this story is going to remain a mystery and that they're keeping that theory a secret. I feel like they should definitely tell us because we deserve to know what happened to this poor family and they deserve justice. But yeah, I would like to know what you all think. Do you think it was just some random stranger traveling by the farm? Do you think it was Lorenz, the neighbor farmer? Or do you think that possibly the house could have been really actually haunted and maybe one of them became possessed? Or I don't know. I'd like to know what you guys think. I think it could be a number of things. Lorenz is a little suspicious. I got my eye on him. But like I said, we'll never know. It's really sad. It was really a gruesome story. And I just hope that they are able to just rest peacefully and that their family that is still around is okay and, you know, living peacefully. But definitely let me know if you enjoyed this type of video. I know I was probably all over the place because it was my first time filming it. But yeah, let me know if you enjoy it. Do you want me to do more? Are there any cases that you would like me to speak about? I definitely have a lot that I would like to talk about because like I said, this is my jam. Like true crime, serial killers, all that kind of stuff. I could talk about it all day. Again, definitely go check out Bailey Sarian. She does her Murder Mystery Makeup Monday, which is really good. She talks about a lot of good juicy true crime stories. So go check her out. I'll have her link down below. I know there are some other people that also do something kind of similar. If you know of anybody, definitely let me know down below and I will check them out too. But that is it for this first video in hopefully my series, if you guys like it. I don't know. I think I'm gonna call it Beat Faces and Unsolved Cases. Let me know if that's cheesy or if I should call it that, but I'm definitely gonna call this video that because I think it's a good idea, but definitely let me know if it's stupid because I don't want a stupid title. If you have any other title ideas, let me know. But yeah, at this point, I'm just rambling. So don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.